South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham joins us now as Republicans demand answers on what went wrong. First off, before we talk about where we go forward on the war on terror by renaming it first, what would be something that, maybe three things that you would ask Anthony Blinken today?
Of the people that we took out of Afghanistan, how many of them were vetted before they got on the plane? What are you going to do with them? How are you going to vet them now that we got them? Are you going to recognize the Taliban? Are you going to give any aid to the Taliban? And how many people did we leave behind that helped us during the last 20 years? And how many Americans and their families are left behind?
So the CIA director met in Pakistan with the Pakistani officials, but guess who beat him there? Russia, China, and Iran. At which time the Prime Minister, Imran Khan, said, you have to think twice if the United States thinks they're going to be able to aptly have a base here and reestablish a base here. So we're not in Afghanistan. We're not going to have a presence in Pakistan, but yet we know that's where primarily the Islamic extremists are. What do we do?
Well, right now, you have to make a decision about the Taliban. Do you recognize them as the legitimate government of Afghanistan? If you do, you set in motion a disaster throughout the world. They're terrorists. I'm going to try to introduce legislation naming the Taliban as a foreign terrorist organization. What would I do? I would bleed the Taliban dry. I would wait for the civil war to emerge, and it certainly will, and I would help the people on the other side. I would make the Taliban's life difficult. I would watch them like a hawk the best I could. I saw any indication of a rise in al-Qaeda, I would act, but I would isolate the Taliban. The Biden administration, I think, is going to embrace the Taliban, which puts Americans all over the world at risk.
Here is President Trump yesterday on what happened. Listen.
Now I'm saying, how can they take this equipment? And I guarantee that China and Russia already have our Apache helicopters, and they're taking them apart to find out exactly how they're made. They're the best in the world by far, and they're taking them apart so they can make the exact same equipment. They're very good at that. It's a disgrace.
What do you say? What do you say? And what do you say to people saying this is the Trump plan anyway?
Well, it wasn't the Trump plan. You've got to remember, on January the 20th, there were 2,500 soldiers at Bagram Air Force Base, counterterrorism troops. We had Bagram Air Base in American control when Trump left. I want to know from Blinken, whose idea was it to give it up? We're naked and blind in Afghanistan. Trump had a conditions-based withdrawal plan. We all want to withdraw, but we don't want to leave behind Afghanistan in control by the Taliban and aligned with al-Qaeda, which led to the first 9/11. But Bagram Air Base was in our control when Trump left. It was Biden who gave it away. It was Biden who pulled out all the troops. It was Biden who made this biggest blunder since 9/11. So no, I don't buy this as Trump's fault. He made mistakes, but at the end of the day, it was Biden who decided to do this.
Last thing, real quick, you said we have to reframe this. Not war on terror, war on radical Islam. What else should we keep in mind from here on in?
The only way to defend America is have a ground component over there working with people who reject radical Islam to keep us safe here. Every time we withdrawn without a ground component, we had to go back in. We're not fighting terrorists. We're fighting radical Islamists driven by a religious doctrine that would kill everybody listening to this program. We didn't call the Nazis terrorists. We called them Nazis because they believed in the Nazi philosophy. We're in a religious war. It would be a generational struggle. Align yourself with people in the faith who reject this radical ideology, which is most, and stay over there fighting them so they don't come here. If you don't do that, we're going to get hit again.
Absolutely. We don't hate Germans, we hate Nazis. There's a big difference. America can make the could actually separate that. Give us more credit. Senator Lindsey Graham, look forward to talking to you again. Thanks so much.